Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I am running late because there was rain today in California and people were literally putting the top parts of their cars on the bottom where the tires go. It was super fun. With me tonight are Minions, Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
Hello. DrFunctional.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. Kill my father, prepare to die.
And Skep Tock.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, it's been quite the day. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share, Serenity?
Yeah.
You're good?
Good.
Functional?
I'd like to share my head with my pillow. I was up at like 4 or 5 a.m., so just a little slow, a little tired. Caffeinated, but there's only so much that does.
Well, if you try hard enough, it can do a lot. But yeah, there's a point
I'm
where,
a quitter.
there's a point where it's like, you just go to sleep. Just go to sleep. And Skep Talk.
You know, Al Hammond told me it never rains in Southern California.
Well, I'm in Central California,
I know.
so it almost never rains.
Yeah, it almost never.
It almost never rains.
God, 17 is an awful road in the rain. At least it used to be.
All of the roads are awful in the rain because nothing drains, everything sucks, and mostly it's the people who just
They
behave
don't know how to
poorly.
drive.
I mean,
Right.
how do you end up with your car upside down? Yeah, that takes some effort. Now, I mean, I can understand like a car kind of falling over on its side, but ending up on its roof, that takes some skill. And
I
some
can always
velocity.
identify the people who have never had children. Kids, when you're teaching them to drive, think that the big one on the right makes it go, and the one on the left makes it stop. The steering wheel is so you can get to where you're going, and
Mhm.
it doesn't matter how fast you go or what chances you take, because you're immortal and you're going to live forever.
I know this may come as a shock to you, but I used to be a child. And then a driving age adult.
Yeah.
And so I do remember what that was like.
Oh, I wasn't actually patronizing you.
No, I know.
was just having a bit of fun with it.
Well, I think I told you about my friend who liked to drive fast, and his parents, they both had like these Corolla station wagons. This was back in the 80s, and he liked to drive really
Corolla.
fast.
Yeah.
So he had new tires on his shittier Corolla, and his parents were in Mexico doing ministerial work for the church. And so they left him here foolishly unsupervised.
Wow.
So he jacked their car up, took the tires off, put his car's tires on their car so that he could then go out and with another friend of mine and go driving. Yeah, out in the sticks.
How'd that work out?
Well, it worked out with the creek going over the top of the headliner as the car was upside down. So then the parents get back and, they go, you do the whole thing where you go to the yard where the crumpled up car is. And then they notice that their tires aren't on their car. So the whole plausible deniability thing kind of goes away when you realize that it wasn't just a thing that just sort of happened. It's like, no, he actually took the tires off his car, put them on your car, and then went and drove like an idiot on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Oopsie.
Not good. Not good at all.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. On the subject of sleep, let's switch over to here. The Senate has lost its ever-loving mind and decided that daylight savings time should just be a permanent thing. Because little Marco got it in his little head that people are annoyed switching back and forth between daylight savings time and standard time. So maybe we should just have it be all year.
Yeah.
Now, I totally understand why this seems like a good idea to anybody who hasn't thought it through. And I know that a lot of people haven't thought it through. But this is not something new. We've already tried this experiment. It went really, really poorly.
It's really reflective, all kidding aside, of some of a profound, I guess, sociological change that's happened since the time when daylight savings time was really meaningful, particularly to Midwestern farmers who had to deal with a world where things happen at certain times, regardless of how much light is in the sky. And farmers had to work when there's light in the sky because their workshop is outdoors.
Mhm.
And so back in the day, it made more sense. Now it's so much a part of what we do that I suspect I haven't really investigated this, but I suspect there are probably a lot of hidden costs here. With the if you got rid of daylight savings time, I think a lot of it would not accomplish anything good, and it would cause a lot of hard to isolate costs on society and companies. I really do.
Okay, so Jack saying that Harry is wrong. Daylight savings needs to die. Okay, I'm actually
Why?
perfectly fine with daylight savings time dying, if by that you mean we never go on daylight savings time and we always stay on standard time. That would be a preferable solution.
That's not. They want to go on daylight savings.
They want to
time
be on
permanently.
daylight savings time perpetually.
Right, and that's wrong. That's crazy.
And it's terrible. So this was in 1974. We had a very similar time. We had an energy crisis, and because of problems in the Middle East, and they decided that it would be a super fun experiment to just go for 16 months with no standard time. And here's a picture of kids in New York standing around in the cold because it's 7:35 a.m. and it's pitch black. This proved to be a problem, and after 1 year of this, people got so fed up with it that they didn't want to have anything to do with it ever again. It got rescinded after. It was a fun experiment that just went very, very poorly. Daylight time is like darkness time. It's just never gone particularly well. There's this, let's see, I guess I should probably link this one here. This one in the Smithsonian actually is a pretty good history lesson for people. But yeah, I mean, we already tried this and it sucked. So what I don't understand is why is it that a unanimous vote in the Senate took place to make this mistake a second time?
Because they don't remember the mistake.
Well, some of these people are older than me.
Yeah, the guy who's putting this forward is a guy named Scott Wiener. Scott Wiener is the guy who put forth the bill in California to greatly reduce to a misdemeanor the act of knowingly infecting someone with AIDS.
So it's not that Hispanic woman from Southern California who does all the other dumb things.
I thought no,
it's not Roberta Sanchez.
Yeah, no. I think this is Scott Wiener's bill. I'm not positive.
Well, I know Rubio was one of the signers on for this thing. One of the people pushing it.
Rubio has the brain of a house cat.
But yeah, I mean, I assume that the younger people here don't have any memory of the 1974, the little 1974-75 experiment.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I the thing is like, because I live out in the boonies, I've always gone to school in the dark through middle school, junior high.
Well, because you got to schlep your way all the way to school.
Yeah, so for me, it's not a change. Now I can understand the New York kids their parents not liking it, but it's always been that way for me. So I'm kind of indifferent to the going to school in the dark thing.
Yeah,
because it's just like I stood on a backcountry road that was called a turnpike. It was never a turnpike. That literally one day, because they didn't give us a 2-hour delay, a truck flipped on it because the curve was too tight, and I had to sit in the bus with like 4 other kids, and that was it for about 3 hours. So like I said, I've always gone to school in the dark. So this doesn't, like, I'm not up in arms about it, but at least from the article I've found, Rubio's the one who put it forward.
Yeah, I think as far as the farmers go, I don't think they particularly care what it says on the clock.
Yeah.
You get up when you need to get up to do the things that need to be done. The where the big and the little hand are on your watch don't really have much impact.
Sun up, we do this.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you even do it before the sun's up. It's pretty cool looking at these tractors that have like all these huge light arrays on them so they can plow at night.
Oh yeah, no, I know. There's one of my neighbors. He has a field, and he's usually up during planting season at like 4:30 in the morning, doing stuff because we live out, like I said, we live out in the boonies, so I'm the only one who can hear him, and I'm used to him. So he just starts planting pretty early usually, or at least starts cutting the rows. Let me rephrase that. He starts cutting the rows and then does what he has to.
Well, looking at this Smithsonian thing,
it is not Scott Wiener. You're right. I was getting.
Well, he's guilty of everything else.
He's the guy who's making the sanctuary state.
Yeah, that's what.
That's coming up.
That's what I got confused.
And apparently, Rubio's been trying to push this since 2018. So,
well, Rubio is short and has a short memory and tiny hands.
Yeah, I mean, it's Rubio.
I say, but while the experiment initially proved popular with 79% of Americans expressing support for the change in December of 1973, approval quickly plummeted, dropping to 42% by February 1974. That's a pretty big drop. They lost 36 of their approval points over just one winter. Yeah,
like
it's a
driving
problem.
to work in the dark.
Now, this theory that we're going to save energy has never really panned out. It's actually not the easiest analysis to do, but no matter which way you cut things, there's almost always going to be more accidents one time than another. But they found that in terms of saving energy, it doesn't really do that. Mostly,
Harry, you can make whatever numbers you want.
You can make whatever numbers you want. To my mind, if people want to have more time off during the summer to enjoy the long days, just say, our business is now in summer hours. We open at 8 and we close at 4. We'll see you at the beach. Is it really that difficult? Do we have to pretend that it's a different time just so that, Rod can go to the beach and hang 10? I don't understand it.
It's a weird, as much as I hate to say it, it's a city people thing, because that's always been that kind of stuff around here. Like most places around here, the smaller stores, like the small businesses, will sit there and say it's summer hours, or we have updated hours, or blah, 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 whatever. Because their kids are home and stuff like that, or if they want to be with their grandkids, or if they want to go to the wave pool, or they want different days off, or whatever the heck. So I think it's just a city people thing where they don't understand.
Well, see, because it makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, oh well, I'm easily impressed. Let's talk about transgender people swimming, I guess. I know this has sort of been covered, but this is an interesting headline because they just go straight to the second place finisher with a big picture of her, almost pretending that Leah Thompson has nothing to do with this entire thing.
Well, they wanted to show
actually attractive
picture
woman.
Sorry about the dog. Stop that.
It's okay.
Stop.
The dog has something important to say.
He knew you did the minute you said stop that. It's like, nope, must go louder now. That's how they are, the little jerks.
Yeah, little bastards.
Stepdaughter coming home.
But yeah, no, I'd much rather put a picture of an attractive woman up too. The other one.
I mean, so in terms of things that actually sort of being covered, I guess Leah didn't actually manage to do all that well in the 200 freestyle. But the main part of this is that Leah was ignored by the competitors as she exits the pool.
That's the part I wanted to point out about this. This is all about paying attention to Leah. Every single bit of this, okay, is about Leah living her best life and all that stuff. I don't think any of that is sincere. I think she just wanted to be admired as a champion at something. She got so close, as a man, that she thought, well, I can do this as a woman, and it just broke her. I don't know if she feels sincere about it, but I suspect that that's a head full of nuts and bolts that are aren't very organized, and this will not end well.
The memes are great.
Guarantee it.
Oh yeah, the memes are amazing.
The Aquaman meme was that was astonishing.
Well, it's like I think
with Neptune's trident.
I think there was a meme, and I don't know how truthful it was, but apparently prior to transition, we're going to use correct language. Like when she was a he wasn't. I think he was like he was not even in the top 200.
No, he was
of men.
Three or 400th.
And now it's number one or whatever. Yeah. But it's like you're no matter what you are, gender sexually speaking, you're pathetic.
Harry, here's what I want.
What do you want?
I want Medvedev, the tennis player, to declare he's a woman and go play Serena.
I don't know. Serena's pretty damn tough.
Serena herself has said on the air, and you can find tape of her saying that, I would be lucky to take a game from one of the top men. It would be luck. They would have to mess up. She would be lucky to take a game.
I think anytime people are competing, trying to be the best version of themselves, competing, and it's a real competition, I don't necessarily need to see the guys doing alley-oops playing basketball. Women's basketball is actually kind of enjoyable because they have to actually pass.
It's not predictable. It's
more of a game, that way. And actually, I used to think that women's billiards is actually great. That's more of a game than a sport. Cycling actually can be very interesting, and there are some long distance running type things that women are pretty darn good at. I don't particularly have a problem with women's sports, but it just pains me that they don't seem to be able to compete fairly when there's these people coming in with this sort of advantage. And here's the problem. You're not supposed to say that any trans person is not really trans. But I still feel like I kind of want to say, well, what if they're just being opportunistic? What if they're just being an opportunist? What if they just got arrested for sexual assault, as in a previous story we talked about, and they suddenly think, I'd rather be in the women's prison right now. So they suddenly start transitioning right afterward. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm supposed to just go, no, listen and believe, just the fact that they just committed a heinous crime and don't want to go to men's prison and be treated the way that sex offenders are treated in men's prison has nothing to do with the fact. It's a pure and organic expression of the real them that was just waiting. And that time in the holding cell was all it really took to bring out their inner beauty or something. I'm sorry. I just think it's ridiculous to pretend that way.
Yeah.
Which says nothing about, if somebody wants to live their life a particular way, I'm not going to be a dick about it. I mean, it's fine. I've known several trans people, and I don't have a problem with it. I mean, they didn't give me a signed affidavit, so it's not like I got 50 top experts talking about how it was Russian collusion or something. Yeah, I'm talking about the Hunter Biden laptop, which we're not going to talk about tonight. But Caitlyn Jenner, actually seems to be pretty on board with what I'm talking about here. Criticism of trans athlete stance. I had the balls to stand up for women in sports. Well played.
That's the thing. Yeah. If you actually look, people who are actually transgender have a problem with this. It's the people who are the trans trenders or the ones who are just trying, that it feels to me are just trying to get somewhere because they were incapable of doing it in the other form. Mm-hmm. That are pulling this crap because, I'm sorry, that's not even close to it. Leah does not pass in any way, shape, or form. That's not someone who's gone on it estrogen for a good while or any of that kind of stuff. Like, no.
Well, if there
Like-
was some problem with sexual expression, secondary sex characteristics, and they said, okay, look, your DNA says this, your brain scan says this, real doctors, real therapy, and they did something to somebody when they were 5, I wouldn't be a dick about that. But somebody just being 400 something in the country in a sport, suddenly saying, okay, I feel pretty now, and don't mind the fact that half of my testicle is sticking out of this woman's swimsuit. That then suddenly they go to number 1, it just kind of feels a little manipulative.
Yeah. No, agreed. Absolutely agreed.
And I mean, maybe we'll get canceled by YouTube for even saying stuff like that.
Pink News, which has been leading the cheers for this thing,
Mm-hmm.
it has their headline is Leah Thomas has. I'm on Pink News site right now.
I'm sorry.
I know. Leah, I'm taking one for the team. Leah Thomas has done what she does best, make history. Thomas, the swimmer whose record-breaking times on the University of Pennsylvania team made her a star of college athletics and a complete fraud, became the first trans athlete to win an NC2A swimming championship. Blah, 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 blah. Pennsylvania senior was a nail-biting 2 seconds.
Did they literally say nail biting 2 seconds?
Nail biting 2 seconds ahead of University of Virginia's Emma Wyant, who took second place. I just want to say to these gentle idiot creatures who run Pink News, 2 seconds in the world of competitive swimming is a fucking eternity.
Oh yeah.
The human dolphin guy who won all the medals, he took one of his medals by 1/100th of a second over another American. Who's that American swimmer who won all?
Is he the really tall one who got caught smoking pot?
Well, I don't know about getting caught smoking pot.
Yeah, Phelps
he got
was
caught.
Phelps.
That was his name. Yeah, he got like eight gold medals, and I bet in those 8 gold medals, the cumulative margin of victory, if you took all the margins of victory and summed them, they would not be 2 seconds. In fact, I guarantee it.
You're probably right. You're right. It's an eternity. 2 seconds is unheard of. There's nothing nail biting about 2 seconds. That just shows that the person who wrote the article for Pink News knows absolutely nothing about college sports.
And they'll say, well, it's the 500 yard, it's the 1500, it's the 500 yard freestyle. And okay, go look at the 1-2 times in the 500 freestyle for men and women at the top time. You'll see there's very, very tiny gradations between first and second place. I mean, a quarter of a second, a half a second. That's a longer race. Maybe occasionally you get 3/4 of a second, but you'll never break a second. The number 2, they swim against each other and they know how each other are doing. They sneak a peek every once in a while and to see what's going on, and that's one of the reasons that it's so competitive. This Leah, what's her name, has years and years of developing her muscle mass and her connective tissues with tons of testosterone coursing through her system. And that's what makes men the good hunters and women the good bakers. Sorry, but that's the way it works. And his if you did a physiological analysis of his muscle mass, I guarantee you he would be, off the chart on the women's quartiles or deciles.
Well, back in the New Zealand powerlifter thing, I actually went to the trouble of bringing up all the charts. But I have a feeling we're going to be seeing more and more of this. But maybe since people aren't paying attention to Leah, that's probably the best thing everybody can do. Just ignore Leah.
I agree. I think this is going to fade. I think that you're going to get a few you know, cretinous people like this who do this sort of thing, and it's going to be fat. It's going to be like a fat Harry.
Yeah, I haven't seen people be so excited for the silver medalist in something since Nancy Kerrigan won at the Olympics. Do you remember? It's like,
I remember
but
that.
she was the top placing American, so woohoo!
Yeah.
She's going to Disneyland. All right, so you brought this up. State lawmaker introduces bill that would make California a sanctuary for transgender youth, their parents. In a nutshell, a California state lawmaker wants to make it such that if you run into legal problems involving any kinds of transition in another state, you can just grab your stuff and go to California and they won't participate in any kind of extradition. I don't see how this could possibly cause problems with like divorced parents or any other sort of thing.
No.
This
will
is
be
going to
fine.
be messy as hell.
This is fine dog.
Yeah.
This is fine dog territory. And there won't be any Jesus. There won't be any groups of people who volunteer to go out and fetch these kids who just want to get out from under their parents. And so they say, I'm LGBT, but I'm being held against my will. Don't worry, Code Pink will rescue you, and or you know, Pink News or what, you know, some weasel, you know, from some activist group will go and essentially kidnap the child, take them to California, where they can't be extradited, even though the person might be charged with kidnapping. And if the governor says no to extradition, extradition won't happen. That's one thing about the United States is if a state says you're not going to be extradited, you're not going to be extradited unless you have.
And then they can groom all the kids.
Yeah. Like, what was it, the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir with their little song that's, yeah, we're coming for your kids.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Damn, I don't have that Chris Hansen thing loaded up in the virtual camera. Crap. Anyway.
Yeah, so this is Scott Wiener.
Yeah.
Who I was talking about. This is the guy who put forth the thing to make infecting someone with AIDS on purpose because you hate them.
Yeah, it's a misdemeanor.
Right? A misdemeanor. That's a misdemeanor.
But not wearing a mask, you should lose your livelihood for that. Oh, wait, I didn't say that. Never mind.
God.
So, remember the whole Hunter Biden laptop thing. We don't need to go over the Hunter Biden laptop thing. But what we obviously been seeing, though, is all these people saying that misinformation and disinformation are these toxic things, right, that are just destroying the fabric of our democracy. So I actually found this thing here, which is actually, this is supposed to be training for journalists, and they talk about what they think is the difference between these things. Disinformation, when people intentionally create false or misleading information to make money, have political influence, or to maliciously cause trouble or harm. Then there's misinformation, when people share disinformation, but they don't realize it's false or misleading, often because they're trying to help or want to be part of a community. That just means you're a useful idiot, I guess.
Right, yeah.
To fall into that
Disinformation is missing the last part of its definition. It should say when people intentionally create false or misleading information to make money, have political influence, or to maliciously cause trouble or harm, or if they disagree with me.
Or if, yeah, exactly. Well, we all remember the whole thing about the lab theory, the lab leak theory for the COOF. And people were saying, no, if you believe that, it means that you're just a terrible racist.
This disinformation. There's
no proof for that, right? And we've seen enough of Fauci's emails to know that there was a lot of damage control going on. It's like, gain of function. No, you don't understand what gain of function means. It's like, well, actually, we're not interested in your narrow technical definition. You know what we're talking about, you greasy little bastard. And stop trying to hide the fact that you had some culpability here. Yeah. You basically gave tools to people who didn't know how to wash up properly when they were working with things they needed to be very careful working with. And you did it in another country to get out from under the control of the rules that you'd have to follow here. That's sort of like saying you're not really gay, but you just go to Thailand and diddle, ladyboys. It doesn't matter if you do it in Thailand. You're totally,
Wrong with Kevin
totally
Spacey?
straight in the United States.
What happens in Thailand stays in Thailand, even when you get to Bangkok.
Or you say about Kevin Spacey, functional.
Well, why are we talking about Kevin Spacey?
I don't know. Why are we talking about Kevin Spacey?
Also, to add something to the misinformation, also cognitive dissonance plays a huge role a lot of the time. People just see something that they agree with, and they're just like, "Oh, well, this must be true."
They
That's
want to
like how-
believe.
Yeah.
Well, we
I,
talked.
I,
Go ahead.
I mean, up until the digital age, it really hasn't been that much of an issue. Sure, there's been propaganda and misinformation throughout the ages, and but it's never been this epidemic that these people, big tech and government, that have been clamping down on, or seem to be elevating it to this the most existential crisis of our time, to pull a little Bernie quote.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at. I was reminded of an essay that Carl Sagan wrote called "The Fine Art of Baloney Detection," and it was something that mostly he wrote because it was more the sort of theist versus anti-theist kind of thing. But I thought the points he raised were actually interesting, and I rather than have like a 15-page essay in single-space type, I just extracted some key points out of it, and maybe we can think about these in the context of things like the laptop and the lab leak type thing. So the first one is this one. Basically, wherever possible, there must be independent confirmation of the facts. Man, can you think about all of the things that we wouldn't have gotten wrong if we just applied that one rule?
Unfortunately, the operative part of that statement, the most important part, are the first two words.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's more than one rule. This is just one guideline.
I know. But as far regarding this rule, the key is, wherever possible. If you have independent confirmation of the facts, for example, the sun comes up in the, where I live, kind of in the southeast portion of the sky. And I can point to that. I can, get a compass rose and point out, what degree the center part of the lower limb of the sun, as we used to say in the Navy, is rising. And that's easy to independently confirm that. When the quote facts end quote are based on a bunch of underlying assumptions, many of which are hard to pin down, know much about, or verify, anybody's argument is, subject to attack, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, don't want to get hung up on this, but yeah, independent confirmation. It's nice when you can get it.
Well, we had 50 different people from the intelligence community sign this letter saying that it was misinformation, Russian misinformation or disinformation, that was being deliberately spread with the Hunter Biden laptop. And then they suppressed this, Twitter and Facebook silencing people and accounts, including a newspaper, for even claiming that there was some smoke there at all. Nope, we've got 50 people who say it's misinformation. Not a shred of proof, mind you, just a completely unverified hypothesis with not a single fact to back it up. But it was presented as fact. So, I mean, to the person looking at this stuff, screw you and go fuck yourself is my response.
It is all state-controlled media. I mean, social media is completely state-controlled at this point.
It is, because they get so much money from them that they basically just do whatever they want them to do. Yeah. Encourage substantive debate on the evidence by knowledgeable proponents of all points of view. No, we don't do that. We do the other thing where we just say, I am the science. This is what the science says. Anybody who debates me is literally killing children with their disinformation.
Exactly.
I'm a little annoyed. Sorry.
I
feel this fairly quickly here. And it's amazing because this wasn't really designed for this purpose, but it's shocking just how well it applies to the current year.
Yeah.
Authorities. Arguments from authority carry little weight. Authorities have made mistakes in the past. They will do so again in the future. Perhaps a better way to say it is that in science, there are no authorities. At most, there are experts. This is the 1970s. Carl Sagan wrote this. And it rings very, very, very true. More so now than I think it ever has.
Yes.
He never met the magical murder gnome.
Clearly. All right. Keeping going. Explore possibilities. Spin more than one hypothesis. If there's something to be explained, think of all the different ways in which it could be explained. Then think of tests by which you might systematically disprove each of the alternatives. I mean, he's obviously thinking like a scientist here.
Yeah.
What survives the hypothesis that resists disproof in this Darwinian selection among multiple working hypotheses has a much better chance at being the right answer than if you simply run with the first idea that caught your fancy. Meaning, yeah, you can talk about all the different things that could have happened other than the virus escaping from the lab. I think it's really healthy to have that conversation. But you need to be allowed to have that conversation.
No, it came from a wet market, Harry.
Oh, it came from
I
a wet
am the
market.
science.
No, they
I am
found
science.
they found traces of the virus in the sewers in Italy months before the outbreak happened. Ergo, it came from Italy. That's actually a true fact, but it isn't really the truth of the whole thing. I mean, that's one of those facts that taken in isolation might be kind of misleading.
Yeah.
Because they do have this thing called the Mobile World Conference in Europe. You know, there are people who are asymptomatic traveling around and they would excrete their bodily functions, and we can detect that through PCR amplification really easily. So saving samples of sewage periodically in major cities is actually a really useful tool for going back and figuring out what the hell happened.
Yep.
It's not the sexiest job, but it's really important. Be impartial. I don't think I even need to read this one, but I mean, it basically saying that just because it's your hypothesis, don't get too worked up about it. Because if you want to actually care about the truth, don't just support an idea because it's your idea.
Okay, so the idea that trans men, or men who transition to women are actual women.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
I can't think of a way to talk about testing that hypothesis without just making jokes that would make imaginary girlfriend angry at me. Quantify. If whatever you're explaining has some measure, some numerical quantity attached to it, you'll be much better able to discriminate amongst competing hypotheses. What is vague and qualitative is open to too many explanations. Yeah, numbers are good. You know, because at least it gets you a little bit closer to the objective truth. Now, of course, you can monkey with the way the measurements are taken and do a lot of stuff. But once you commit to a number, somebody can say, okay, how'd you come up with that, Sparky? And you're actually on the road to maybe figuring something out. I mean, as opposed to critical race theory, which has no numbers.
Oh, they have numbers. Believe me. They will make you, they will sit there and tell you that the mathematics behind those theories is sound.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, you know, there's a lot of crap sociology out there. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, there definitely is. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, meaning if there is a piece of the argument that doesn't hold up, you can't just go A implies B, B implies C, ... a miracle occurs, D, E, F.
Right.
You can't. It doesn't actually work that way.
This is also known as the underwear gnomes problem.
Yeah, and we talked about Occam's razor earlier. Basically, you know, if two things work equally well to explain something, go with the simpler one. And this is the one that is...
Hanlon's razor is an important corollary to that.
Can you restate that again? Because I'm forgetting.
Hanlon's razor... I don't want to get this wrong. Razor... And it is an adage or rule of thumb that states never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. So
yes.
never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. Known in several other forms, it is a philosophical razor that suggests a way of eliminating unlikely explanations for human behavior. It was named after Robert J. Hanlon, who submitted the statement to Murphy's Law Book, too. And similar statements have been recorded, though, for a long time. I mean, he wasn't the first person to think of that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Hanlon never watched Reliable Sources with Brian Stelter.
No. Well, the other thing is testability. You know, if somebody makes a claim, but there's no way you can actually test whether it's valid or not valid, first of all, is that claim even useful? Now,
No.
I know if you're having a religious conversation, these are different sorts of things because you're dealing with articles of faith, right? And that's sort of what he was thinking about. But I tend to be very suspicious of people who make claims that can't possibly be validated.
Right.
Like when it's mind reading, it's like how the hell do you know? I can't prove or disprove what's going on inside a certain crazy world leader's head. You don't know that. People make these kinds of statements all the time, and it's like not only is it unsubstantiated, but there's no way to know if you're right or not. In which case, it's just noise. I almost just don't want to hear it at that point.
Yep.
But unfalsifiable hypotheses are usually worthless.
Yeah, because even when you get into like the realm of cosmology, you have all sorts of hypotheses that might be untestable at some point until somebody goes, you know, we might actually find a pattern in the background radiation.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Sometimes you just got to table those things and put them aside and then bring them back later. Like, look at all
well,
the
that's
things.
why they're just hypotheses. They're not like, you know, it's just a guess. It's an educated guess. It's not.
When you're, yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. You know, it's when they're investigating the Rumsfeldian domain of stuff you don't know. That's, you know, that's when they when they're probing around trying to extend those reaches. It's kind of like what Harry was talking about. At least that was my interpretation. You know. Anyway.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to go through those really quickly.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. So the next thing is slightly infuriating. I apologize. Let me turn.
Welcome to the infuriation stream.
No. It's not so bad. Actually, when we don't talk about potential problems in Eastern Europe, it's amazing how much less annoying the stream becomes.
Fair.
So I assume you guys have seen this Common Core math versus old good math video before.
To its 10 and its 1.
So you see in the left column.
I've got 3 10s, which is 30.
You see
and
this
5
woman.
Oh,
ones.
good
So that is
Christ.
30 plus 5.
This is my life.
Yeah.
12 is 1
And so
10
over in the right column,
plus 2
they're doing it
ones.
the old-fashioned way.
Okay, so that's
Now, I would like to point out that this is also 35 times 10 plus 35 times 2, which is 350 plus 70, which is 420. And you can just do it in your freaking head. You don't even need the pencil and paper on the right. But let's just play along.
Well, she's showing a technique on the left that will teach the dullest child in the world if they just do these rote things. They may not understand the number they're computing. They may not even understand what multiplication is, but they can make the right symbol appear relative to the other symbols if they just do this every time. So it takes away the ability to teach a real understanding of arithmetic.
Absolutely.
And mathematics.
Well, here I've sped it up by a factor of 2.
the
Let's
next step would be
just
to draw a large box.
kill the sound. Now, the guy on the right has already ended making some coffee.
Right.
We're still drawing our box on the left. We're at 2x here.
Oh, by the way, I want you to know all of my grandchildren do it. They'd be making coffee.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't even write it down. I'd just be doing it in my head. Gotta show you work. No, I don't. And that's the way I was in real life when I was this age too. People say, gotta show you work. No, I don't.
I have no idea what the hell she's doing.
She's basically basically reducing 35 to A plus B and 12 to C plus D, and then showing what the multiplication would look like for the two binomials. But she's not doing it in a way. She's not doing it in a way that actually helps you learn anything.
Right,
She's just drawing a box, and people are going through this thing. It's the same thing I did in my head, just stupid.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. What this does is it reduces the steps to you know, what she's doing is doing an arithmetic manipulation of those numbers so she can get some easy numbers to add up in a column.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's the one that, and so that basically in these guys minds, all you ever need to know is addition and subtraction, because multiplication and division can be manipulated into addition and subtraction problems.
Yeah, if you have a slide rule. Anyways, but
yeah,
no,
definitely.
but this was 3 minutes to multiply something I just did in my head. Now imagine if you were to use larger numbers, where you would end up. You would be in, you'd be in destination suck. That's where you would be.
Yeah,
it's just
yes,
absolutely terrible. And this isn't the only video along these lines. This is what
that
they
was
call,
not the engineers who got us to the moon did not do math that way.
well, this is the area array model. And here's, I think I could say that she's sort of Midwestern cute 4th grade math teacher.
Yeah, cute and a good source of beef.
Yeah,
all in one.
She's a fun gal.
Yeah.
And she's going to show us how to multiply 54 by 18. No, she's not, because I'm going to stop this nonsense.
Fat girls are grateful.
Yeah, so they're dumbing down mathematics. Believe it or not, there's actually a point to this. It's just going to take us a little while to get there before I do the callback. So I was actually looking up something related to this. And I went down this rabbit hole looking at women and mathematics. And I stumbled across this article from 1997, only the freshest. Oh, screw you. Look at this. Oh, God, I hate everything. Okay.
I didn't even say screw you, Harry.
Somebody let their certificate expire.
Okay. Never mind. Okay, so in 1997, there is this thing called the Putnam. It's the Putnam math contest, and this is the first time a woman in 57 years before, it was all men who won this thing, and then for 1997, the first woman actually won in this thing. Her name was Iona Dumitriu.
Oh gosh.
And she's actually Romanian.
Oh,
so
Romanian.
We're getting closer. We're getting closer to the point. So Harry decided to really go down the rabbit hole and start looking at the historical results for it. So
it's just across the Dniester River.
So looking at, forget the team winners, look at the fellows. So each year you get a handful of these people that are named at the top of the rankings for this. This is a collegiate mathematics competition that happens in North America. Doesn't matter what country you're from. If you're in North America, you can participate in this thing. And women typically don't do so well, but I noticed this interesting phenomenon. Well, interesting to me. You go through here and you suddenly start to see a few women showing up. Like, for instance, this Anna Karyani, and she not only won once, but twice, 2003, 2004. And this is her. Let's see, let's get a picture of her. Here she is. She's on the faculty of the Imperial College Department of Mathematics in the UK. You go into the profiles of both of these people, what you find is that they're both Romanian, which got me to start to think there's hardly any women who actually win this contest. How come 2/3 of them are Romanian?
Mm-hmm.
And so I immediately called up our friend Sora and said, hey, Sora, can you possibly explain what the hell is going on here? What is it about the Ukrainian math system that is clearly so superior to the bullshit that we're teaching with our stupid little play matrix thing that we're using to lobotomize kids about mathematics? So Sora told me a little story here. It says Romania has a different high school system, technical for people who are not good at school, humanity, language-based, and STEM-based. For for example, she said her mom did math, physics, science in high school, went on to medical school. Her dad was the same in high school, went on to do electrical engineering. So he went on to a polytechnic. At the same time, university entrance was based solely on grades. Top high school students are given the top university spots. The grading is based on 10, so you need 9 or 10 in most classes. Elementary level maths are a lot more advanced than in North America. She used to get shit from her parents because she was doing in high school the stuff they were doing in 4th grade.
Interesting.
So you go through and look at this stuff. So talking about Kariani, now a professor and Royal Society University Research Fellow at Imperial College London, is not one to shy away from a challenge. She grew up in Bucharest, Romania, and sometimes faced obstacles that had nothing to do with her ability. As a high school student in 2001, she became the first Romanian woman in more than a decade to qualify for the International Mathematical Olympiad, winning a silver medal that year and golds the next 2 years. But despite her eventual success, she did not feel welcome and rarely got encouragement. Now, they're trying to spin this a little bit here. Some people, including math teachers organizing the event, told me not to get my hopes up. They made me want to prove them wrong. Now, they're trying to spin this in this article as her being a woman, like she was somehow being discouraged. That is absolutely not what happened. That's totally not what happened to the first woman to win in '97. They're just simply saying, you're up against some pretty stiff competition, you know, be prepared for the worst to happen. But nothing here is anybody holding her back.
No, don't freak out if you don't win.
Yeah, don't freak out if you don't win. You should keep doing math. You're actually pretty good at it.
Right, exactly. You know, because so I quit math and became a dog groomer, and the world was deprived of a great mind.
Yeah. I'm glad that I kept lots of alternate links for this sort of stuff.
Good lad.
But yeah, I mean, actually the mathematics they're doing is really interesting, but there's no way I can come anywhere close to doing it justice in the time we have here. Not to mention I would have to spend a lot of time because it's not really the kind of stuff that I'm into all that much. So anyway.
Andrew Wiles. Her advisor was Andrew Wiles. You know who he was.
I do.
Okay.
Sora actually sent me some math questions from like high school competitions and stuff. And I think my response to her was, your people really do like number theory a lot.
Yeah.
Really not my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I like more analytical stuff myself in math.
I will say this too. At least they you know, I'll say a sexist thing. At least they have cute female mathematicians coming out of Romania. This is, if you've ever been in a university math class, you'd know how rare this is. So keep up the good work, Romania.
Good Lord, yes.
All right. So I know I just said a whole bunch of words really, really fast. Does anybody have any questions?
No, just the comment that my experience with female mathematicians is most of them look like they fell into the ugly tree and hit all the branches on the way down.
Oh, let's see. Kiever Dam is mentioning somebody. I'm not familiar, but I mean, there are lots of women who are good with numbers. You know, in the physics world, Lisa Randall, I think, comes to mind. There are some people. I mean, it gets into the greater male variability thing that you tend to have more outliers in men than you do women, which is why you also have more complete idiots and homeless people who are men. But there's nothing about being a woman that stops somebody from being a top flight chess player, top flight mathematician, whatever. It's just less common. And that was fun.
Emmy Nether, though, was a very significant German mathematician. She lived from 1882 to 1935, and there was a theorem named after her.
Damn it, Lisa. No, that was not the point I was trying to make. I was trying to make the point about the educational systems. While we're dumbing down our kids, we're being faced with like the juggernaut of the Romanian education system and other places where they take this stuff seriously. If you look at the amount of work, the number of hours that kids in Asia and in Eastern Europe are putting in compared to whatever the hell it is we're doing when we're in school for way less time and not actually teaching the basics we need to be teaching when we are, I kind of weep. It's a good thing we have an excellent immigration policy for smart people into the US, because I think that's all that's keeping us propped up at this point. Sorry, I got distracted.
Sorry, I'm reading about the difference between Netherian groups and Artinian groups.
Okay. Well, before
looking for satisfying ascending chain conditions and so forth.
Okay.
Anyway,
so talking about education a little bit longer. Let's see if they block me out of this stupid Mercury news. So I've got two stories I'm going to present to you simultaneously. Mount Diablo, unified teachers threaten to strike. They've been offered a 7% raise over 3 years, but the union thinks they should get twice that. Now, based on cost of living, they're not entirely wrong.
right.
However, also in the Mercury news, roughly the same part of the world, there's a school in San Jose, and because of declining enrollments, they need to close an elementary school. But of course, nobody wants them to close their school. This is some brilliant propaganda right here. Look at how sad she is.
It's a sad little minority child.
Look at those sad little moppet.
Yes, being denied her chance to excel in society by the evil white patriarchy.
Yeah, you know, if they close that school, she's going to have to go 20 minutes out of her way to get to the next school.
Good God.
20 minutes, Skep.
The mind reels.
This could be the difference between her being the smartest STEM girl ever and failure.
Well, yeah, it's practically selling her into sex slavery in Saudi Arabia. You might as well just go ahead and do it.
But it's the declining enrollment numbers which kind of have my attention. So this is in San Jose. The Evergreen School District, which consists of 16 schools serving kindergarten through 8th grade students, had a peak enrollment of 13,400 students during 2005-2006, dwindled to 11,794 in 2017, and 9,789 by 2021, costing the district state funding. Now, the population of California keeps going up, and people are still squeezing out kids. So you've got declining enrollments. Nobody wants to close a school. And the teachers in the East Bay think that they need to get a 15% raise. I can't rationalize all of these things simultaneously in my head.
They are being governed by a man who thinks you can just print money and everything will be fine.
How exactly is that possible?
It's not. It's an unfalsifiable hypothesis. In fact, it's uncontestable. It's better than unfalsifiable. It's uncontestable. If you contest it, you go to jail.
Well, the declining enrollments are interesting because it makes me think that, especially with the pandemic that took place, that a lot of people are kind of the opinion that I'm not sending my kids back to this place.
Yeah.
I would love to know how many of those kids have ended up in charter schools, private schools, or homeschooling. I don't have that data, nor was I able to find it. All I can see is declining enrollment, costing them money. They need to close a school. There really isn't any other way to do it because last I checked, the school can't print their own money.
No, well, they kind of can. They just have to. They can get as much as they want. They just have to go to their governor.
Well, school script. I haven't seen that stuff in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So Serenity's muted, Functional's muted. I think for the time being.
I just can't stop yawning. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay, man.
It's the quality of my discourse.
Can you tell me about?
No,
I mean, do you have any impression of what's going on in the Great White North? As far as education goes, I mean, are people still having kids, or are they turning away from the schools, or do you just not have any visibility into this?
The schools are overflowing. There's like, at least in more urban areas and suburban areas, there's just not enough schools, not enough school rooms. There's lots of portable classrooms. We recently, just before Koof, there was a spat between the teachers wanting more money, and we actually in Southern Ontario pay our teachers quite well. I mean, a starting salary was something around, I think it was 53,000 a year. with the average being about 85.
Do they get summers off?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So they get generous vacation and all sorts of other benefits. And
Yeah, while making, 80K a year. So yes, the cost of living is high, but that's also really good for, I mean, a lot of them are glorified babysitters that follow a lesson plan. They don't know what they're talking about. You don't need to be an expert in your given classroom, but you should at least know, like if you're a math teacher, you should have a fairly advanced knowledge of math, so that way you can find these kids who are really really good and have no business, or really really bad, no business being in the average class, and then send them to a gifted or remedial class to make schooling effective. But a lot of these teachers, I'd say, I mean, I haven't been in school for a while, and I haven't really dealt with the school system with the other kids getting out about a decade, but yeah, I'd say at least half just don't know anything about what they're teaching. They just follow a lesson plan and regurgitate it, and the kids have to regurgitate, and then there's lots of standardized testing and blah blah blah.
So looking at the
But our
chat-
education system is really good up here.
So I'm looking at the chat briefly. Lisa, to answer your question, yes, that is the Common Core thing you were hearing about. And Richard, yeah, that is actually sort of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that part of the declining enrollment is because people just don't want to deal with the public schools around here, because they're not fit for purpose.
No.
I mean, I wish I had better numbers. Like I said, the only number I have is the number that's tied to how much money these people get paid by the state. So, and of course, Ellen's talking about people being bilingual. I think you mean French and Canadian, whereas here it would be, Spanish, English, Cantonese,
Well, even
Tagalog. We actually have a pretty large number of minority students in some areas.
Yeah,
we have a lot of that here too.
you have a lot of Mandarin speakers.
Yeah.
In high school, there's options. I took Latin instead of French. I know people who took German. It's completely dependent on each individual school. But there are yes, you have to take another language, and typically it's French, but there are these options. You can opt out of French and take these other ones, depending on if that teacher's bilingual or not. And those are, funny enough, it was the language teachers and some of the science teachers who were fit for their classrooms. It was almost all the rest who were just completely no. There's like one good English teacher in my high school. The rest were just reading a script.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see.
No, it's more than that, Elwin. She says 40K to start. It's closer to 54 now.
Well, I mean, it depends on your definition of start. There's often a probationary period, so you guys may be looking at different definitions of start. That might explain why you're getting such different numbers. So let's see, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. So I'm going to slip something in, which I haven't heard Skep talk about, but this may enrage you. Is your blood pressure doing okay, Skep?
Yeah, I've got medication handy if I need it. So
okay,
if I start to stroke out,
give me a moment here. Let's see, I sent this to.
Jesus God.
Stacey Abrams guest stars as president of United Earth on Star Trek Discovery.
So that's what she was elected to.
Oh,
She's the one who ate the franchise.
it's not.
Oh,
It's not
wow.
enough for her to be the fake governor of Georgia. She has to be the fake president of Earth.
She thought
Stacey
they said French fries.
From planet Abramopotamus.
Mhm. She is in a cameo role as the president of Earth in the season 4 finale of STD.
She
Yeah.
certainly does.
Another reason to not watch that show.
There she is, walking through space or something.
Walking past a green screen. Yeah.
I feel like the screen is trying to curve around her. It's.
Yeah. I get that, Harry.
I swear I can see behind her.
She's changing the curvature of space time with her mask.
Exactly.
Actually,
She
that's
seems
how-
to be so slow.
She actually is. It's just not much.
That's how they beat the big bad guy. They just tie her into the deflector dish and transverse the gravitational waves.
Stacy opened her mouth and sucked them between the hole between her front two teeth.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, I know. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out for you. How did you not know about this, Skep? Did you just give up and decide you couldn't anymore?
Yeah, I
Nobody
just
gives a
couldn't
shit
anymore.
about Discovery.
I don't care about Discovery.
Okay. Well, see, but you practically missed out on this. If I hadn't taken the time as your friend to point this out to you, you might not have known this happened.
I can go to my grave happy now.
Her ability to suck up to people in entertainment, like especially the science fiction stuff, is pretty incredible.
Actually, if you watch some interviews with her, she's pretty personable.
She is.
You know, until she tells you you're a racist and you have to give her all your money. That's when she loses me.
Yeah. 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 No kidding. At least Irate didn't have to live to see this horrible thing. It's the only silver lining on that thing. It's just terrible. Yeah, this is just an abomination, and I refuse. You'd be hard pressed to find a bigger Star Trek fan than me, and that's exactly why I will have nothing to do with this show. I just can't. Let's see. Oh, that's right. Well, let's see. Back to our regularly scheduled show. Oh, good. That's going to not be a link. Awesome. Did I mention that I am running very far behind schedule because I was running late? Okay. I assume you guys saw this happened a few days ago. Forget the Ukraine part, just sort of ignore this. But DuckDuckGo has basically said they're going to modify their search results, you know, for virtue signaling purposes. And it's like the one thing that your job is as DuckDuckGo is to not do this kind of crap.
Mhm.
You know, you're supposed to be better than this. So there actually is a competitor which is sort of shown up, and I just thought I'd let you guys know about it. It's startpage.com, and so if you're looking for an alternative to DuckDuckGo, this might be one that you could take a look at. The only thing I found about it that I particularly don't like is that whenever you click on a link, it always launches in a new window. And then before you realize it, you've got like 100 tabs open, half of them are your search results.
Oh, really?
So other than this one little problem, which I haven't
That's
figured
a
out how to
defect.
change yet, it's actually proven to be a pretty decent search engine.
Start page.
Startpage.com. Because DuckDuckGo, you had like one job, which was not to monkey with the results and have an algorithm that tells me what you think I'm supposed to know. You're supposed to give me the unfiltered, unadulterated search stuff. I don't need you virtue signaling your way into at my expense. I want you to just do the thing that you're supposed to do.
Are they
It's-
repackaging? Are they doing their own crawls and everything, or are they repackaging somebody else's?
They're repackaging other search engines.
That's what I figured.
And that's fine if they want to just make it anonymous. And so when you go to the search engine doesn't know who you are. They don't know
Mhm.
where you're coming from. So they can't basically try to condition you with a search that's based on your previous searches.
But Harry, it's for your own good.
Oh, it's for my own good.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just sit back and take the pill.
Okay. Well, speaking of grief after STD, I was looking at this thing when I was doing some research for something else. Let me see if I can actually find the things. Hold on a second. No, we're not talking about that. Well, essentially, I was looking at the New York Times, and they had a list of things that people are talking about that are trending. Most of which is stuff we're choosing not to talk about for this show because we're not talking about Eastern European conflict. And one of the articles was this thing: how long should it take to grieve? Psychiatry has come up with an answer. And it's like, I thought to myself, oh, really? So you're just trying to make it so that if people grieve for longer than you think they should, that's like supposed to be some sort of treatable condition?
What the fuck is this?
Yeah. Well, here, let me put the link into the chat here. Oh, great. It's eaten my highlights. Awesome. Well, in a nutshell, they really do like the idea of sort of treating grief as a mental illness. It's like, what are you people going to do? You're just going to medicate people who don't snap out of it quickly enough?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I don't think that all grief is necessarily equal.
Wait,
what?
what?
I mean, all grief is terrible, but you can't tell me that somebody who's like, you know, been married for 2 years and then loses their husband in a car accident is on the same level as somebody who loses their soulmate of 40 years.
Lose a child.
Or loses a child, or, you know, there's all kinds of different grief in the world. And the idea that there's some sort of objective number, well, you know, you're just going to get naltrexone and antidepressants because you're not snapping out of it quickly enough. Why don't you walk it off?
This is what happens when stupid people learn big words. This is what's going on here. You have people who are very poor at logic, at reasoning, and so forth. They know a bunch of buzzwords. AOC should be coming to mind right now.
Mhm.
And they go out and prove what complete nincompoops they are by saying that there's a generic character to grief that simply doesn't exist. Grief is deeply personal, and it's deeply individuated. This is bullshit.
Well, there are problems that some people end up in a state where they can't function. You know, they will develop social anxiety, they'll completely withdraw. They become incapable of essentially getting back any semblance of their life. Now, no matter how bad the grief is, we want to help people get back to something resembling normal. You know, at least be able to
Force them back with drugs.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's for their own good.
But who decides? Is this where the kids come along and say, oh yeah, well, grandma just hasn't gotten over grandpa passing, so we're gonna stick her in a home, and oh, by the way, while we're at it, we'll take control of her finances? Is this just another lever to use for terrible offspring to
she
rip
can
off
zone out
people?
on Cymbalta for the rest of her life because she didn't get over it fast enough. Fuck you.
Have some Atarax. You're not eating grandma.
Atarax. That is hydroxyzene hydrochloride. That's what Atarax is.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, betcha.
Yeah. Oh, I wish Serenity was back for this.
Skip over a story and then come back. You know, if you've got one that you want her on.
Okay, the next thing we move on to, there's really kind of no turning back from.
Okay.
So we're gonna just do this. We're gonna do this thing. This is a space story, and I know that I don't do enough space stories, but I think you guys might actually like this. Hold on, just 1 minute here. I'm going to play you some audio. Oh, sorry. We're going to play you just a little bit of audio. This is from the Apollo 12 launch. And I want you to listen kind of carefully. Is that too loud?
Okay, we just lost the platform, gang. I don't know what happened here. We had everything in the world drop out.
Set SCE to aux. Set SCE to aux.
Fuel cell lights and AC bus light. Fuel cell disconnect. AC bus overload 1 and 2. Main bus A and B out.
Got struck by lightning not once, but twice.
Essentially, all the shit in the capsule just sort of stopped working. and nobody knew exactly what the heck was going on. And while Skep was screaming out the answer, the point is there's like a long silence here, which you don't normally hear. This is not normal for there to be nobody talking.
Well, they went back. They went to
Wait,
the
hold
little
on.
weasel. Okay.
Give it a few seconds.
Apollo 12, Houston, try SCE to auxiliary, over.
Okay. That was like a pregnant pause of almost 20 seconds where mission control said nothing.
Mhm.
Because for that 20 seconds of sphincter tightening that was happening both in the capsule and on the ground, nobody knew what the hell was going on.
Albion
All of
said
the
he just
instruments
about
were-
shit a brick.
All of the instruments were just not in a good way. Hold on a second. Let me let me bring this up here. Okay. So I brought up the transcript from this thing so you can actually see a little better what just happened because the audio quality was not great. Skep already knows the answer to this. Okay, so we look at the launch. This is basically from liftoff into the takeoff here. And then around 1 minute into the launch, basically, okay, we just lost the platform, gang. I don't know what happened here. We had everything in the world drop out. This is from the commander in the capsule.
They got struck by lightning just.
But they
as
didn't know
left
that
the
yet.
Pad.
They did not
hang
know
on.
this
Hold
yet.
on. Hold on, Harry.
No, but you're skipping to the advanced part before we've got there.
Okay, all right. I'm just
This
saying.
is
it
like
happened.
knowing the end of the Sherlock Holmes mystery.
There are 2 lightning strikes. That's
I know
that's
that.
my point.
I know
Okay,
that, but they don't
Right.
know that here.
Right.
Okay. So then command control just acknowledges that, and then he starts reading off all the things that don't work. All
Yes.
3 fuel cells down. So essentially that's the power for the capsule. You've got
Right.
fuel that goes into a fuel cell, which produces voltage. You've got 3 of them because it's a redundant system because you don't want people to die. Okay. So on a jet airplane, that'd be the APU type thing, right? So you need something to run all this stuff. They're on batteries at this point, and none of their instruments are working. So like Skep said, there's like a good 20 plus seconds before this one guy says, "Hi, try setting SCE to auxiliary." So the capsule comes back and says, "NCE to auxiliary?" It's like, no, SCE to auxiliary. And then they say, okay. And then there's like a little bit of thinking because Capcom isn't even quite sure what this one guy on the board just said. There was like one guy in the room who actually knew that there's a thing that might possibly solve this problem.
Mhm.
Okay.
A steely-eyed missile man.
A steely-eyed missile man. We had some really big glitch, gang. Okay. So you go through the rest of this. This is all happening within the matter of minutes. It says, so in the capsule, it says, "We'll straighten out our problems here. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure we didn't get hit by lightning." Now, the motor, the rocket motor and everything is doing just fine. It's on a different system. Everything's going fine. They're still headed to the moon. Everything is great. But they gradually figured out, like Skep said, they got hit not by lightning once, but twice. And this caused the fuel cells to go offline. And so they didn't have enough voltage going into the big box of sensors that basically provided the telemetry to the people on the ground and managed all of the stuff in the capsule so they could see what the hell was going on. So they had to flip that switch, which essentially said, never mind the fact you're not getting sufficient voltage, do your damn job anyway. That's what that switch did.
Right.
And only one of the 3 guys
So it was stop reporting it.
Yeah, one of the 3 guys in the capsule knew where it was because these guys train all the time. They train. And they'd done multiple system failure trainings, but they'd never done a scenario where everything stopped working all at the same time. Because this is your Kobayashi Maru situation right here. So the commander of the mission from the capsule says, "Think we need to do a little more all-weather testing."
Would you like to know just a little bit inside of John Aaron, who is the steely-eyed missile man in question here?
Sure.
What was in his mind? See, when he saw the...
You mean that guy?
Huh?
You mean this guy?
Yes, that guy. That's John Aaron.
Yes.
Yeah, when he saw the unusual telemetry readings, he remembered a flight simulation that they had run through about a year earlier, where they had some similar telemetry showed up. He recalled this simulated anomaly concerned an obscure system and called the signal conditioning equipment system, and remembered normal readings were restored by putting the SCE into its auxiliary setting, which meant that it would run even under low voltage conditions. And
You
would
mean the
stop
part I have
recording.
highlighted right here?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I
Never
know
mind.
the thing. No, I think it's funny. So you found the same thing I did, I think, and we both fixated on exactly the same section. That's amazing to me.
Yes,
I
yes,
love
it
the
is.
fact that our minds worked so similarly that I highlighted the part you're reading now.
Yes,
Because I did not send this link to Skep before the show.
No. This is from my private reserve of links. I have a whole bunch of space stuff. I have so much space stuff it would shock you.
Mhm.
But anyway.
But
Yeah.
anyway, you were going to say what? Go ahead. And
I
cover
didn't
the-
realize this was the same article. Yeah, this is a piece that I've had for a long time.
Yeah. Well, this is only the freshest news on Saturday nights. Okay. So when he quickly called out the recommendation, flight try SCE to AUX, most of his mission control colleagues had no idea what he was talking about. Both the flight director and Capcom asked him to repeat the recommendation. Pete Conrad's response to the order was, "What the hell is that?" So now you know a little bit about the steely-eyed missile man, because they say, you know, and even today among us geeks, the phrase SCE to AUX used to describe a situation where one narrowly averts a catastrophe by coming up with an ingenious plan. Now, I think I was reading this article, and of course, my takeaway might be a little different than everybody else's. I was thinking about all these people that think artificial intelligence is going to save us. Artificial intelligence wouldn't have done jack in a situation like this.
Oh no.
What artificial
No.
intelligence can do is if it knows the answer, it will find it faster than the humans and it will execute it faster than the humans.
Yeah.
But this was the inspiration of one guy who kind of
Exactly.
had an inkling to try something
He
that wasn't in
remembered.
any manual
Yeah, but he remembered something that had happened in a
that was
simulation.
similar. Yeah, that
Yeah,
reminded
yeah.
him of a thing that could have happened. Now,
And-
in order to not die, they had to do a number of things after this, and this isn't really the crux of the story, but they the inertial guidance system was shot, meaning it was just completely out of calibration. So they had to go through multiple rounds of having the spinny thing be reinitialized, where they were essentially shooting measurements out the window.
Yeah.
To sight against stars to get this thing back lined up.
They actually had marks on the windows.
Yeah, because
to do that.
finding moon was going to be really hard without working guidance. The other problem that they had was they weren't sure that they actually were going to be able to get home alive, because one of the systems that they were not able to check was the explosives that were going to deploy the parachutes. Now, if you look at this from a mission perspective, you're up in space, you don't know if your parachutes are going to work. They literally had a conversation that went as follows: well, we might as well at least go to the moon and accomplish something, because we're going to die either way if that's what's going to happen. So we could
Right.
die now going home early, or we could die after doing something amazing instead.
Yeah.
So these guys are going through their entire mission with the knowledge that they might not actually make it back.
Death was at their shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
But
that
this
has to
is
be in
not
their
what-
mind from the get-go, right?
But this
Well, yeah,
isn't
but
what-
this is worse. This is
this is-
more.
this
No,
is
no, no,
not-
no, no. I get it. I get it.
Well, hold on one second. I want to hear functional for just a second. But this
Yeah.
is what they're talking about. The breathing, death is breathing down your neck at this point. It's bad enough that you're on top of the giant.
I
explosive.
understand that, and the variables change, but to be a rocket man to begin with, you have to have a certain mindset, knowing you're strapping yourself onto a very large bomb that could go wrong at any moment, and for them to continue on, I think is just a testament to that fortitude, that can-do attitude of we're still gonna the mission takes priority, we're still gonna do the mission, and if we can't, then we can't.
Yeah. Well, we have
It's
a
out
whole
of our
generation
control.
of people who are just like, I just can't even.
And
they're
just throw
tri-
up their hands.
Triggered
like,
by literally anything. I just can't even.
And these
Well,
are hard men.
I don't want somebody who just can't even being in the insane wacko space program thing, because we were doing amazing stuff because we actually had the balls to do it.
Yes.
Crazy people to
And now people seem to think that that it's just like a commercial enterprise because they see SpaceX do it. I can assure you that going to Mars is going to be very, very dangerous.
Absolutely. But this is not what John Aaron was famous for.
No, that's Apollo 13. But that's a different story for a different night. And I think they may have made a movie about that.
out there.
Yeah, it's
and
the
you know
same
what?
guy
In the
who
movie-
basically saved everybody's life in Apollo 13.
Yeah, but in the right stuff, they gave that role to one of the other astronauts. Was it McDivitt? That was the part being played.
The one who
that-
didn't get to go. They mixed it up.
Yes.
It was like Grisham or it was Gus, I thought.
No,
can't
no,
remember.
it was not Gus Grissom. It was
Was it the Ed Harris guy?
Who played Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump?
Gary Sinise?
I don't know.
Gary
I forget.
Sinise. Yeah, it was the Gary Sinise character, and he played. Hang on.
I need to rewatch that movie again. The trouble is, every time I watch it from start to finish. It's one of those things I can't just stop watching.
And then I just want some shrimp afterwards. Shrimp
Not that one. I'm
cocktail
talking about the
and
right
deep-fried
stuff.
Shrimp.
No.
So there.
Are you trying to figure out who Gary Sinise played in Apollo
Real.
13?
Yes.
Ken Mattingly.
Ah, okay.
Mattingly, thank you, Ken Mattingly. Yes, who would go and be the solo pilot of one of the later Apollo missions, which I can't remember.
Our research
Apollo
department
16.
is back.
Was it 16? Thank you.
So there
Did he
I know it
was
was on
on that
15,
one?
so, okay.
there's a very, very good video from Scott Manley on his channel. If you haven't seen Scott Manley's channel, it's another one of those great sort of engineering things. He does a lot of space stuff. And he goes through the whole story of set SCE to aux with some additional stuff. It's really well done.
It is well done.
It's totally worth a watch if you're looking for a way to kill 15 minutes sometime later.
Yep.
Bam, zoom straight to the moon.
Yeah. Now, NASA has kind of become diminished, in my opinion, versus what it was back in the day.
Oh Lord, yes.
Now we're worried much more about things like diversity in space, because
Right.
that's what we need. Is we need to, instead of evaluating people based on whether they have the right stuff, which means the mental, physical, and intellectual development to handle whatever happens when you expose a plan to zero to no atmosphere.
But
Right?
something else has happened, Harry, with space and the technology surrounding getting people into space. It's most of the decisions, most of the work is done in an automated fashion now. So you can literally, put anybody, a sociology major, even conceivably, into a space capsule and shoot them up there, and they'll recover safely. That's what SpaceX does all the time.
Right. They can get people into low Earth orbit with a fair amount of reproducibility,
Right.
and they can do it much more cheaply. But there are definitely people out there that are much more concerned with the skin color and use of genitals of the people going up in these things than they are with.
And this gives them the opportunity to do that, because they can take that gender studies major and say, you're a pilot. We're going to call you the pilot, and you're going to sit in the pilot's chair. What do I do? Nothing. Just sit there. Wait till you get to the space station. Then we're going to have a festival for how woke we are. Then you're going to get back in and just come home. That's the level of training you need to ride in the SpaceX.
And don't get me wrong, I have on multiple occasions spent time in a room in discussions with multiple astronauts who were not white and women. at the same time. I mean, this is a thing that I used to do semi-regularly in my past life. So I have nothing against the right people with the right stuff going up. I don't care about the color of their skin or what they do with their genitals. I don't care about that. I want to see people who can handle what happened to the Apollo 12 crew be the people that they send up. Because if you think that it's just become like an e-ticket ride at Disneyland, you are mistaken. Because there's
Come on,
always
Harry.
a Kobayashi Maru around the corner for you.
If Russia can send up a monkey, we can send up a woman. It's
Yeah, Laika the dog died.
say the women have to.
Laika died.
We'll send the Abramopotamus into orbit, and
Yeah, and I don't care which intersection it is you're talking about. I mean, it needs to be just based on merit. Okay, so here's somebody who's petitioning to be, just load, you piece of crap, who's basically just petitioning to get LGBTQ people into space. Now, why somebody's questioning, especially the Q, they're questioning their sexuality, how that makes them a better astronaut, I don't know. I mean, I would just like all of this stuff not to be on the questionnaire. I know, I'm being a pedantic dick here.
No, they just want to have somebody who says, I'm an astronaut and I'm gay or whatever. I'm
Or whatever.
trans or whatever. Yeah. I'm non-binary and I'm an astronaut. We have astronauts too. We want role models. We want, when we're raising our children to be gay and transsexual and non-binary, we want them to have role models they can look up to, gay, transsexual, minorities, well, I guess, but in space to look up to for, it's for the children, Harry.
Okay, I mean, I was inspired by that first Latinx astronaut, Jose Jimenez, because he really set the bar, Sorry. I'm making a joke that only Skep gets.
Yeah.
Okay.
My name Jose Jimenez.
My name is Jose Jimenez. That's
Hey,
Bill
Jose,
Daly.
how is it up
That is
there?
comedian Bill Daly doing a bit on the Milton Berle show. So we are on next to penis news. Now, penis news also incorporates things which are penis adjacent. So because there's just not enough penis news to fill things out.
There's not enough penises in the world.
Okay, woman's UTI was actually glass tumbler lodged in bladder for 4 years. Now,
Wait. What did you just say?
Yep.
You said words.
doctors were left stunned when scans revealed there was a glass tumbler inside a woman's urinary tract. The 45-year-old come to the hospital complaining of typical lower UTI symptoms such as leaking, but doctors were left stunned when scans revealed there was a glass inside her bladder. So inside her bladder was a glass, which was then surrounded by a stone. Now, forget for a moment the fact that that this happened, right? Okay, so this is a thing that happens, right? I'm not going to try to get into other people's kinks. I sort of don't care. What I'm surprised about is that she forgot that she had a glass up her urethra, because that seems like a thing you wouldn't forget easily.
It may depend on how large a person you are.
Well, you're walking around the house and you're thinking, I can't figure out where my lucky shot glass is.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking that she was a big girl, but I don't think being a big girl means that she's had a giant urethra.
Jesus, look at the size of that stone.
Yeah.
First of all, unless that glass is the size of a pea, that's a big fucking stone. And that means a big girl.
It just
my God. Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah, you'd also talk about frequent urination. This would not be good. Anyway, this is a thing that happened. Apparently, some people have a much more interesting life than I do, and they can do something like this and then forget that they did it and go on for 4 years. Alrighty then. So while I was looking for things, this isn't really penis news, but I thought this might cheer you up, Skep. I found this list right here Mini Skirt Monday, minis and vintage computers.
That's what I'm talking
And it's just a
about.
whole collection of like pictures of ads of
Those
computers
tape transport units.
where of course all the women have to be wearing like mini skirts. I mean, they're all very tasteful. There's nothing particularly wrong about that. But it's like, oh, I'm trying to sell something. Why don't we just put a girl in a skirt? Oh, here, I need a computer for the office. Here, she's got big hair. There she is
Yeah.
with a skirt. And one of these things is not like the other. Here's a woman in office. Of course she's wearing a skirt. Computers used to be fun. Look, here's more
Oh, yeah.
women changing tape drives. Because I guess if you're going to take a picture of somebody working with a computer, the natural thing to do is to say, hey, go put this tape on this drive over there while you're wearing your skirt.
It's a nasty raised floor, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's actually kind of hard. This poor thing here. It's
Not Romanian.
No. So you'll notice both of these women are wearing stockings. Now, if this was a raised floor, this is a linoleum floor, you would know why they were doing that, because it's cold as hell in computer rooms.
No,
'Cause you have-
that's the point I was making, was that it was not a raised floor. I was being too subtle.
Yeah. Here's the Atari ST magazine. We got, more women in skirts, and it's like you even go back to the grainy black and white pictures, and it's just like, okay. Now, I've worked with computers for a long time, and I can pretty much assure you this is not the way it usually works. And it certainly doesn't work like this. It just keeps going and going. Yes, I want this piece of equipment.
New, fast, and efficient. So do I.
Yeah, the TSP plotting system. Yeah, she looks
Oh,
fun.
right. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, she looks fun. I mean, there actually are a lot of very nice looking women in here working with computers, but I think it's just the mindset of like, this is how we have to sell these things. Because I mean, I was around for a lot of this stuff. Now, you want a PDP-11? You get to be this guy with the tie that matches his shirt. And of course, she's wearing that little thing there.
The future mother of his children.
Yeah, the future mother of his children, if he's lucky.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh, and this seems totally legit.
That's
Wah,
80s.
wah. Look at that hair.
I think she's waiting for somebody to show up and fix her computer. My floppy drive is
Weird science.
My cup holder went back in.
anyway. Yeah, it's actually startling how consistent these are. And what was really startling is actually I tried finding pictures that didn't have women in miniskirts, and I mean, unless you go to Ada Lovelace, I think she was wearing a skirt, but it wasn't a mini. She was wearing like the Navy uniform thing.
Ada Lovelace?
Not Lovelace, sorry.
No, you're thinking
Hopper.
of Captain Hopper.
Yeah, Captain Hopper.
My old professor.
Exactly. Well, anyway, we're just screwing around here because it's the end of the show. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about?
Set SCE to aux. When all else fails, everyone set SCE to aux.
Yeah. And just reverse the flux of the neutron, the polarity of the neutron flow.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll catch many more snipe that way.
Oh yeah, speaking of like anything sort of like a fish, I have this thing which I'm looking forward to using. But I don't have I don't have a fish yet to complain about.
Probably like the stench between Stacey Abrams. Never mind.
No.
Not going there.
Yep. Let's see. Devil Fruit Zero. These current day old women have nice legs. Legs are a nice thing.
I was sitting there looking at that. A lot of those shots, Harry, were from the early 60s. Those were early to late 60s, I think. Almost all of the black and white ones.
Yeah. But a lot of the color ones were from the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah, those were from and you could tell by the haircuts too. But I'm talking about the real old ones. You know. People don't realize what it was. My father actually worked on a computer called the ENIAC. He also worked on the Mark I. And these were the first mainframes in the world. I mean, some of the probably the first among the first 10 mainframes ever produced. You know, it anyway, that was a time. It was an amazing time. And now look at us. You know, I still say that the computerization and the availability of information will be what this last 100 years or so, from about 1950 to probably 2050, the big change that will be remembered for is information availability and the growth of automation.
It's the biggest change since the printing press.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
So I could pretend to be Jenna, and then I could just blame her for all of what just happened.
Yeah. Jenna.
I just keep this around in case I need to pretend to be Jenna at any given moment. All right. So anything else before we go? Functional, you're awake?
Barely.
Barely.
Go to bread.
Serenity, you doing okay?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
All right. Skep Tock, I know you're doing all right.
I'm doing all right.
I think we're done. Thank you, everybody. Zoo's closed.
This was fun. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Go